Hello and good evening and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for our Hometown Heroes 6 Steps to Utilizing Your Hometown Hero Benefits. And my name is Shane Turner. I'm your host, and I'll be getting started here just shortly. We had well over 100 folks register tonight, so I'm going to let everybody get on and get situated here, and we'll start in just a few moments. Most importantly, for those of you that are on now, just if you could just let me know in the chat box if you can hear me. Am I loud and clear? I'm not on mute. If you could just type in, that would be super helpful. Thank you so much, and we'll be getting started in just about a minute or so. All right, thank you so much. And I did get a yes on that. Everybody can hear me? Can you raise your hand? Let me know. That would be super helpful. That way I'm not doing that. Okay, great. Perfect. All right, got a few more people joining us here, and I'll get started in just a short. I'm just going to mute everybody and make sure that you can see me. So our format tonight is really simple. It's 30 minutes. I'm going to go through the 6 steps of utilizing your Hometown Hero benefits. We're going to talk about this awesome program, how much money's left, how you can qualify for it, and most importantly, what the next steps are to closing on your new home. So I just got a few more people that are jumping in. I'm going to go ahead and let everybody in, and I'll be muting them. And then I'll go over some rules, some housekeeping, and we will get started here just shortly. All right. Perfect. So obviously the popularity of this program has exploded. I'll show you in just a few minutes. There's already been over 3,500 families that have participated in our Hometown Heroes program, and already $50 million of down payment assistance. And why that is important is because that's half of the money. We were only allocated about $100 million to start. Although I do have some good news, there is legislation in Tallahassee right now to where we are trying to get another $100 million put towards this program, and there may be some other changes along the way as well. As many of you know, Florida is a very hero-friendly state. We're a very veteran-friendly state. Florida is number 2 in the entire country for VA homeownership, so we're really excited about that. We got a lot of veterans and active duty personnel utilizing this program. I got just a few more people joining, and then I'll get started here because I know everybody's time is valuable. And I want to make sure I leave a little bit of time at the end. Again, this is a 30-minute home buying webinar, the 6 steps to utilizing your Hometown Hero benefits. And I'm going to go ahead and just admit everybody, and I will get going here in just a moment. Okay, perfect. All right, got a few more people joining us, and we'll get going in just a second. Awesome. Let's go ahead and get rolling here. Again, my name is Shane Turner. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to our Hometown Heroes home buying webinar, where we're going to learn the 6 steps to utilizing your Hometown Hero benefits. And just a little bit of housekeeping before we get going here. If you're joining us late, just ask everybody if you could just mute yourself. Again, you'll have an opportunity to ask some questions in the end. I'll let you raise your hand. You'll be able to jump on. Most importantly, you're going to be able to book a 30-minute one-on-one consultation with me where we're going to go over the 6 steps. And what's most important is, obviously, are you one of the 100 plus occupations and so forth. A little bit about me. I'm your host. My name is Shane Turner. I'm with Supreme Lending. I am a loan officer, and I have had the absolute pleasure of being able to be in business for, I just started my 20th year. And I am one of the top 1% of the entire loan officers in the entire country. So that is quite an honor. I'm a President's Club loan officer as well for our company. And that just means that I help a lot of people, especially with this new Hometown Heroes program. And just a full disclosure, I'm not a hometown hero, but I'm just truly passionate about sharing with those and serving those that have served to protect us. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about this program. Governor Ron DeSantis in June announced that we would be coming out with a Hometown Heroes program. Your Florida Association of Realtors went to Tallahassee and lobbied for $100 million in down payment and closing cost assistance. And this would be up to $25,000 to help them cover closing costs, down payments. And this is going to come with below market interest rate, and it's actually reduced closing cost also. This loan is actually tax exempt. So the state of Florida doesn't charge the transfer taxes, which it equals to you saving a few $1,000s in closing costs. I'm just going to let a few more people in here and get them on. And if you're just joining us, if you could be so kind and go ahead and mute yourself. Again, this program allows you to get up to 5% of what the first mortgage is, and that's $25,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. And the benefits of this is the eligible frontline workers can receive a lower than market interest rate. And just as early as last week, we were locking rates into this program was already in the 5s. So that's really fantastic. And not only that, there's reduced upfront fees. So our borrowers and hero borrowers aren't paying extra money for that lower interest rate, meaning paying buy down points. And I already mentioned to you before that it is a Florida tax exempt loan, so you don't have to pay the transfer taxes, which equates to a few $1,000s on each transaction. Now, the down payment and closing cost assistance comes in the form of a 0% interest, non-amortizing, 30-year deferred second mortgage. So this second mortgage becomes due and payable when you either refinance the loan or you sell the house, okay? And it's due upon when you no longer occupy the property. For example, if you were to buy a duplex or you were to move out of that property and convert it into an investment property, that money would have to be given back. In 5th grade terms, what does that really mean? So let's pretend grandma is giving you money for down payment and closing costs. And let's just say it comes in the form of 5% of $300,000. So that's $15,000 that grandma is going to give you. And she says, hey, listen, I want to help you get into a new home, but I tell you what, you don't have to make any payments on this money that I give you. But at some point, when you decide to sell that house, if you could just give that money back to me with no penalties or anything like that, because I want to help out the other grandkids, okay? So essentially, they're just using other people's money for you to help build wealth through home ownership and help you with your out-of-pocket expenses when purchasing a home. And I'm going to show you some examples a little bit later on, or how we're helping borrowers get into the house for as little as $1,000, all right? So really, really excited information to share with you tonight. So let's talk about some of the 100 plus occupations of who benefits. So we're going to have, you know, our frontline workers, which will be law enforcement, correctional officers, you know, your probation officers are included in that, your back of the house folks like your 911 operators, of course, firefighters, paramedics, and then our veterans. And then there's over 100 plus occupations. So tonight, after the webinar, you're going to get an email from me that's actually going to be everything that you need to know about the Hometown Heroes program. Not only that, I'm going to be emailing you the actual list of the 100 plus occupations that comes from the Florida Housing and Finance Corporation. They tell me what occupations qualify for frontline workers and qualify for this program. I will tell you this. There is no gray area here, okay? You have to be full-time in that specific occupation. You cannot be retired. And that's the hat that you have to wear at work, meaning that if you are a CNA and you are a licensed CNA, but you are doing a different job at your job, you will not qualify. So that's why it's very, very important. And that's the number one step, is finding out if you indeed are the 100 plus occupations. I get a chance to talk to Tallahassee a couple of times a month, and they tell me, Shane, this is the number one problem of this program, is folks actually thinking they're one of the 100 plus occupations when they're really not. So again, you're going to have an opportunity to book me. You're going to have an opportunity to look at this list, and then we'll go over what some of the other qualifying criteria are. So again, eligible occupation, all attendees are going to receive an email from me, and you must be a first-time home buyer unless you are active duty or a veteran, okay? So what does a first-time home buyer mean? That means that you could not have owned a home in the last 3 years, okay? So that means if you bought a house in 2015 and sold it in 2018 and you have not owned a home in the last 3 years, you are considered a first-time home buyer, okay? If you co-sign for somebody and you're not living in the house and you co-sign for a granddaughter or somebody to help them out, you are not considered a first-time home buyer, okay? If you inherited a property and you do not live in that property, and you currently own that property but do not live in it, you are considered a first-time home buyer, okay? There is some gray area here, and depending on your situation, you'll want to get to me, and we'll figure that out for you. So it is a credit score-driven product. It goes down to a 640 credit score, And that allows you to go up to a 49% debt ratio, which for those folks out there with student loans, that's going to be very important for me to take a close look at. If you've already been through the pre-approval process, you probably already understand about the student loans, the calculations that we have to use, and those types of things. Depending on what county that you're purchasing in, income limits are going to vary from county to county. For example, Duval County is going to be different from Brevard County, just like Palm Beach County is different from Hillsborough County, okay? So we'll just want to make sure that you fall within the actual maximum purchase price, but more importantly, there's actually income qualifications also. So I've been doing down payment assistance loans for about the last 19 years. And one of the things that is very special about our Hometown Heroes program is they allow for higher income limits for this assistance, meaning that most Florida counties are over $118,000 a year in income. That means that you and your spouse, or you and someone else that's living in the house, can't make more than what the allowed income is in that specific county. So when we have our one-on-one consultation, I'm going to want to know what county you're going to be purchasing a home in, what your budget is, and then we're going to go over your estimated cash to close also. So what's also unique about this program is it allows for non-occupant cosigners, okay? So what does that mean? That means let's just say I'm speaking to a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, and that is an entry-level nursing position that usually doesn't command a very high salary as far as like an $80,000 a year salary. But if my CNA was trying to purchase a home and dad or mom wanted to jump on the loan to be a cosigner, that is certainly allowable. And what's really cool about it is I don't have to count the cosigner's income, so it doesn't go over the maximum income limits in that specific property. So very, very cool. All right. So one of the questions I get asked all the time is, hey, Shane, how much time do we have left? Because I heard you say earlier in the webinar that they gave $100 million for this down payment assistance program. And here we are, February 15th, which is about 7 months into this. And we've already done $1 billion in purchase business. Probably now there's over 3,500 families it served. And we're over the $50 million mark already. So easy math says that, hey, we got about $49 million left of this down payment assistance. So the funds could run out by the end of the summer. So if you're on here tonight and you're on the fence about thinking about purchasing a home or thinking about wanting to get into a home for not a lot of money out of pocket, go ahead and schedule that one-on-one consultation with me, and we'll talk about what the next steps are to purchasing. So I mentioned to you before, there is a little bit of noise going on in Tallahassee right now. And recently, Governor DeSantis announced that we passed the milestone mark of $50 million in housing assistance. He is very proud of this program. Again, our governor is actually a former military, he's Navy, and makes this HERO program absolutely fantastic. And there's legislation again in Tallahassee now seeking an additional $100 million to keep the wheels on the track here for this fantastic program. All right. So let's talk about what our mission is tonight. We're going to go over the 6 steps to utilizing your Hometown Hero benefits. Number 1 is going to be important documents for our mission. Okay. So we want to determine your eligibility. And that would be things like, hey, if you're a veteran, I need to get my hands on your DD 214. Or if you're active duty, I'd like to see your certificate of eligibility. All my VA home loan borrowers know exactly what that is. But if you are one of the 100 plus occupations, there's going to be specific documentation that you're going to have to provide from the governing agency. For example, in law enforcement or corrections, it's the Florida Department of Corrections or the Florida Department of Health. But again, when we have that one-on-one, which is step number 2, we're going to talk about exactly what you need and what specific occupations are actually exempt from some of the licensing. Step 3 is what I call the most important step, and that's working with the right real estate professional. And I'll talk to you a little bit about the importance of that here in just a few minutes. Step 4 is now the fun part. You know, a year ago, going house hunting and trying to sign a purchase contract, if you were in the housing market a year ago and you were trying to purchase a home, it was very discouraging. Not only was it discouraging for me, but also your realtors that were helping you out, because it was absolutely bananas. We had folks that were waiving the appraisals. We had folks that didn't care about the home inspection. We had folks that would pay $25,000 over the asking price. But now we're in a much different market. Things have changed. We're actually almost on 50% of the transactions I deal with. I am seeing some kind of seller's assistance or seller's help with closing costs. That may come after the home inspection or at the time of negotiation. And then step 5, contract accepted. Now what? We'll do with our home inspection, termite inspection, appraisal. And then step 6 is great. This is when we close. This is awesome. I'm going to show you a couple of great examples of how we're helping folks right now get into houses for not a lot of money. So with that being said, let's talk about step number 1. We're going to obtain your license or your certification. For example, if you're an EMT, you're actually going to have some sort of certification from the state of Florida. We'll need to get our hands on that. That'll be required. Also, again, if you are active duty military or you are utilizing your VA home benefits after separation of service, make sure you get your DD-214 and also your certificate of eligibility. I can help you out with that for my veterans that are out there. I have no problem doing that. We do a ton of VA loans and just love serving those that serve to protect us. Thank you. So once we go through that, step 2 is you're going to get pre-approved. This is where you're going to jump on my scheduling link and book your one-on-one consultation. Matter of fact, for those of you that are on the call now, I'm going to go ahead and put my booking link right here in the chat box. And the reason for that is I get booked very, very quickly. And you want to jump on my schedule. I have weekend appointments and we're going to spend about 30 minutes. I want to know about your budget, how much cash you got. Right now, I tell folks, if you got about $5,000 in the bank, that's a good number to get started. If you got a little bit less than that, it may be slightly challenging because, again, we got to be getting some seller concessions, and I'll show you how to do that, all right? So once we get into that, we're going to be talking about exactly what the assistance is going to be. And there is a little misconception out there. So you get up to $25,000 for your down payment and closing cost assistance. So let's talk about how that works. It's 5% of whatever the first mortgage is. So if you were purchasing a home for around $300,000 and you were getting a $300,000 loan, 5% of that is $15,000 that you would get in the Hometown Heroes benefits and assistance. If you were purchasing a $500,000 house and you were getting a $500,000 loan, you would get $25,000. That's 5% of $500,000. If you were buying a $600,000 house, you would not get $30,000. You would only get the $25,000 because it is a maximum of $25,000. 4 different types of loans we got. We got conventional, FHA, VA, and we do have USDA for my folks living in Central Florida there. So we do have that rural opportunity for you that also helps you with the 100% financing. All right. So again, first-time home buyers. And this has to be your primary residence, okay? So you actually have to be taking occupancy within 60 days of purchasing the home. And again, qualified hero buyers will receive up to 5% to $25,000 in the down payment and closing cost assistance with a 640 credit score. All right. So moving right along, step number 3, again, I said this in the beginning, to me, this is the most important step. We found out if you're one of the 100 plus occupations, that's great. You set up your one-on-one with me. We know what your budget is. You know exactly how much of a house you need to be looking at. And now we want to make sure that we're working with the right real estate professional. I can't tell you how important this is right now, especially with sellers negotiating more. They're dropping the price after maybe home inspection or giving seller concessions. And a lot of our realtors out there are part-time. There's over 195,000 active realtors in Florida. And I can tell you about 10,000 of those actually do all the business. So we want to make sure that you're working with somebody that knows how to properly submit an offer that sellers will actually accept. We're still in a competitive market, meaning that if you're making an offer on a house, you're still going to have possibly be in a multiple offer situation, but you won't be dealing with those pesky cash buyers that are doing ridiculous things like paying over asking price. That's still happening maybe a little bit, but a much better position for our buyers right now than they were before. So again, choosing the right agent is super important. You must trust the advice that this person's giving you, somebody with lots of experience and somebody that's also a talented negotiator. When I say that, I mean negotiating the sales contract. Remember, we might be in a multiple offer situation, but because you booked your one-on-one appointment with me, we've already collected all of your documents. We've ran you through the first level of underwriting. And because of that, we can do things like set shorter timelines in the contract, like your approval process. We can close in 21 days. We can have the loan approved in as little as 10 to 14 days. And then we're able to do things like compete with cash offers because they're usually lowballing. And of course, negotiating after the home inspection, whether it be dry rot fascia board or repairs that need to be done. I'm doing one right now where there was probably $4,500 in repairs that were getting fixed. So sellers are doing things to help our buyers get into more houses with the concession. So that's something that we're seeing. So again, working with the right real estate agent is important. I just wanted to flash some stats for you real fast. So just so you can see, just in the last fourth quarter, we're in the first quarter of 2023 now, but just in the last quarter, you know, there was over 35% of the transactions in some of your markets, like your Orange counties, almost half of the contracts were coming in with seller concessions. And this is going to do nothing but just reduce what your out-of-pocket costs are. And that's the whole goal here, is I'm going to teach you how to buy a house for as little money out of pocket as possible. But you just got to follow my lead, make sure that you're surrounded with the right team. And what I mean by the right team is who you work with matters. And I just wanted to give you a quick example here. Again, we were in a competitive market. When I say were, this was from last year, but I just wanted to give you an idea about what we do and what the team does to help get your contract accepted. This is one of my active duty Marines that was relocating down here to Fort Lauderdale. Because for those of you that don't know, there is an attaché down here for our Marines that guard all the embassies in Central and South America. And what was really unique about this situation is this Marine was actually replacing the Marine, and it was in the same neighborhood that he was buying. So I thought it was very important to let the seller know that. And not only that, let the seller know that I've collected all the Marine's documents, give them a little background about why it's important, this neighborhood, and just kind of wanted to tell a story. So we were in a multiple offer situation, as you can see, and my Marines texted me over here at 8:25 at night. I was having pizza with my kids on spring break, and it said, "Hey, Shane, we got the house. 21 offers we beat out with a 100% financing program." So again, who you work with matters. And I couldn't say that more. All right. So we're going to move right into step number 4. Again, this used to be not the fun part, but this is to me the fun part now, because this is when you go in, you find the house you love. You can finally enjoy this process. But again, very critical that you're working with the right team, because the seller is going to be the way you present that offer. It's going to be everything to that seller, especially in a multiple offer situation. So we've gotten pre-approved. We got the right real estate agent. Our team's great. And then we go out house hunting, and then we sign a purchase agreement. So this is where we get into the piece right here where you signed your purchase agreement. Now we start the home inspection part. For those of you that are buying a home for the first time, which should be most of you if you're on this webinar, because you do need to be a first-time home buyer. But if you have purchased a home in the past, you know, the importance of the home inspection is superior, only because of the fact that, you know, you don't know what's going on with the roof. You don't know what's going on with the foundation. For my veteran borrowers utilizing their VA home loan benefits, this is where we get the termite inspection. So your out-of-pocket expenses for these items here, your home inspection, you're going to be liable to purchase an appraisal also. So this is about $1,000 in out-of-pocket expenses right here. Your home inspection is about $400, depending upon the size of the house. And then your appraisal that you'll be responsible for paying for will be about $600, depending on the type of loan. So your Hometown Heroes funds does not cover this. All right. This will be your out-of-pocket expenses that you'll be working with me. And then you'll need money for a deposit also. And that's why I say having about $5,000 is probably a good start. In some cases, it may not do it. In some cases, that could be plenty. Okay. So home inspection, very important for a few different reasons. We go back, ask for seller concessions, get some repairs done, and all of that good stuff. All right. So moving right along here, once we got the home inspection back, we're going to go ahead and start the underwriting process. That's where, in most cases, we've already verified your employment. But most importantly, this is where we're going to go in and have the appraisal ordered. Your loan's going to be underwritten, go ahead and been underwritten, and you'll have some conditions. And typically, we can have your loan approved in about 10 to 14 days, and the appraisal comes back about the same time. And then once that happens, we move into the best spot. Pretty easy from here. We go right into close on your loan and move into your house. So fairly simple here, 6 steps to utilizing your Hometown Hero benefits. And it starts with making sure you're one of the 100 plus occupations. And then, of course, getting pre-approved with me, and then making sure that we're set up with the right team. So what I always like to do is show you some examples of just recent closings that we had of Hometown Hero transactions, so you can kind of see what this looks like. So here was a nurse in Seminole County. She actually came to my Hometown Heroes webinar just like you did, and she attended. She booked her 30-minute one-on-one consultation, and she went out and bought her $340,000 home, and she got about $15,000 for our Hometown Heroes benefits, okay? She put down an initial deposit of $3,000, and her cash to close the day of closing was $627.13. So she bought a $340,000 home for $3,600. I think that's a pretty good deal. For those of you out there renting right now and your lease is coming up, you're already doing the math in your head. If you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, these landlords are looking for first, last, security. I mean, that's $6,000 right there that you're coming to the table with just to move in. Check out this nurse in Brevard County. Same situation. She attended our Hometown Heroes webinar. She jumped on board. She wasn't working with a real estate agent at the moment. I was able to refer her to one of our hero agents up in the Brevard County area. And this particular agent was able to negotiate $9,500 in seller concessions. And I want you to look at what her cash to close was the day of closing. She bought that house for $1,000, just about the cost of what I guess an iPhone would cost, right? So pretty impressive stuff. So you can see, with not a lot of work, working with the right team, you too can purchase a home for not a lot of money out of your pocket. So for those of you that are on the program tonight, what's next? Well, it's going to be really easy. You're going to go ahead and book me for your 30-minute one-on-one consultation. I have weekend appointments available. I also have evening appointments available, but this is where you're going to jump on. Schedule your time with me, even if it's a week out, or if you have a spouse tonight that's unable to attend, you certainly can get a booking link from me. Matter of fact, you're going to get a couple of emails from me and a text from me after the webinar tonight. And one of the texts that you're going to get is going to look very similar to this. It's going to give you the ability to download my app. All right. So the importance of this app is number one, you're going to have my contact information, and that's going to be very important because you're going to have questions and you want me to be a resource for you, and I'll be able to answer all your questions. And most importantly, I'll help you not make the mistakes that many first-time home buyers could make, because I do this all the time. There's also a home search feature on here. We've teamed up with Home Scout, which gives you a private password protected environment for you to actually search for homes in your price range, in your budget, because once we have our 30-minute one-on-one consultation, we're going to talk about how much of a house you should be looking at to stay within your payment range. It's very, very important that you download this app once it comes out tonight. You're going to be getting a text probably sometime around 9 or 10 o'clock tonight. That text is going to come from my office number. It's part of my marketing team. They just help me manage my appointments. But what you're going to do, if you want to contact me, you're going to want to book that 30-minute one-on-one. But more importantly, I want to go ahead and put up my direct number up here. And this is where you're actually going to call me on a Saturday and say, hey, Shane, we found a property. And that's my 561-289-2077 number. And that is my direct line. So even though you'll be getting a text from another number tonight, it's still a 561 number. I still do monitor that. But if you got to speak to me and you want to talk to me, this is my best number. All right. So we've been on here for just about 30 minutes. I think it's time to open this up for a little bit of Q&A. If some folks have some questions about maybe what their occupation is, or some questions about something that we went over in the webinar. I know that I covered a lot of information in a very short amount of time, but I definitely wanted to give you the opportunity to jump on my schedule your 30-minute one-on-one with me, and we can go over the next steps. Anybody have any questions tonight? If you want to raise your hand or just maybe unmic yourself and just go ahead and jump on in, and ask me. Don't be shy. We got about, how many folks we have on here tonight? So we got about 40 folks on here. Coretta raised her hand. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing really good. How about yourself?
I'm well. Thank you for
All
asking. My question is about my occupation.
Okay.
I've been in my field for 12, 13 years now. I work for a nonprofit
Okay.
hospital. My job title, and I actively currently working as a certified surgical technologist, and I don't see where that is a qualified occupation in any of the research I've done just online.
Yeah. And again, so they're very specific about this. Like it has to be on that list. And
Okay.
You'll get the most updated list emailed to you tonight.
Okay, cool.
And the most updated list, to my knowledge, was done on October 3rd. So it went from 9 pages to 12 pages. But, excuse me, depending upon what county you're in, what county are you in?
Hillsborough.
Okay, cool. So Hillsborough actually has a couple of different down payment assistance programs. So if you're not one of the 100 plus occupations, you still want to take the time if you're serious about purchasing a home and jump on my schedule. And I can tell you what's happening in Hillsborough County. I do the Florida Assist loan, which gives you up to $10,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance. So there are other programs out there. And in some cases, depending on how much of a house you are buying, I mean, you get more money doing that program than you would the Hometown Heroes. So take the time and book me and we can have a little bit more of a conversation. All right.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Cool. So I see a few other folks had their hands raised. So go ahead and just unmic yourself and ask me a question. All right. Anybody else have any questions? So I'll go ahead and Jasmine, you can unmic yourself there.
Hi. So I'm looking at a list that I just Google search because I have like a similar question.
Okay.
I work for Child Protective Services with DCF.
Uh-huh.
But I see it on there, but it just says Child Protective Services Enforcement DCF. But I'm wondering like how specific you get with the occupation because I'm in quality review. So I'm not actually a CPI that goes in the field anymore.
Yeah, but when we verify your employment, I mean, you are a CPI, correct?
No, I don't know. My title's not CPI. It's quality review specialist with DCF for child.
Okay. So basically what has to happen is I have to provide a copy of the verification of employment or letter from employer validating employment with the DCF. So Child Protective Service Enforcement or Adult Protective Services Enforcement. And that's going to be, your governing agency is going to be the Florida Department of Children and Family Services, correct?
Yes.
We should probably dig a little bit deeper. What county are you in?
Palm Beach County, but
all right, I'm in Delray Beach.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I believe now I live and work in Palm Beach County, but I believe now I'm headquarters. So I'm positioned under Tallahassee.
All right.
But definitely DCF.
Okay,
so,
cool. So let's do this. Take the opportunity to book me. Let's talk about it a little bit more. I'll be able to ask you some more in-depth questions, but I'd like the opportunity to take a few more questions if I can, and we'll speak soon.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Jasmine. All right, who's next? All right, I'm going to answer a question here. It says, hey, Shane, we are looking to purchase a duplex. Are duplex allowed through the Hometown Heroes program? Yes, multifamily is allowed, meaning that you can purchase a investment property. Well, it's really not an investment property because you're living in the other side. So it is your primary residence, but you can purchase a duplex and you can start your real estate portfolio utilizing the Hometown Heroes program. If you're a veteran or you're active duty, there's some other specific rules to that, but this is always good also. All right. Perfect. Great question. Thank you so much. Here's another good question. Hey, Shane, I am a registered nurse and my spouse is not one of the 100 plus occupations. Is that okay? Yes, that is okay. Only one of the borrowers has to be the actual occupation. Okay. But that borrower has to live in the house. For example, you can't have mom being a cosigner and she's the nurse, and then the daughter's just moving in because she's a college student, and you can't do the program like that. So you'll definitely want to ask all those questions up front and be transparent about that. All right. Here's another great question that came in, said, hey, Shane, I'm buying new construction. Does this work with new construction? I am being told that I have to use the builder's lender to get $7,500 in closing costs, but they don't have this program. Can you help? Actually, this is a great question, because buying new construction, I can save you thousands of dollars. Because again, this is a Florida tax exempt loan. And whenever you're buying new construction, the builder gives you money for closing costs if you use their lender. But lo and behold, they also give you all their closing costs. So you actually pay more. But that's not allowed with the Hometown Heroes program, because you can't be charged those doc stamps that the seller's trying to place on you. I just closed a disabled veteran here. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Builder didn't have the program. We came in. I was able to save the veteran almost $6,000 out of pocket by utilizing this program. It was a difference of, gosh, it was like 20 grand difference, even with getting the closing costs from the builder. All right. So Shane, is there a minimum income that you need to have if 80% service veteran, my employment is part-time? So Marcos, first and foremost, just want to say thank you so much for your service. It means the world for my family, to your family. Thank you for all your sacrifices and everything that you've done for our country. So 80% service-connected disability, that's great. We can certainly use that income. In most cases, I'm allowed to gross that income up. But most importantly, if you've had that part-time job, you're going to have it for 2 years, okay? 2-year part-time job, same job, making it nice and stable. All right. VA is all about stability. So they're going to want to see that. Okay. Here's a great question. Hey, Shane, when being referred to a realtor, do they assist with credit repair to help you get pre-qualified? So credit repair is kind of a dirty word. Like, I'm not a big fan of credit repair unless you really know what you're doing. There's a lot of things that you can do to your credit to get your score up. In the short term, it really depends on what your situation is. But if you have tons of collections and, you have a 500 credit score, then, you probably are in for some in-depth credit repair, and then mostly time. But if you're somebody right on the edge with a 600 credit score, 620 credit score, and you happen to have like some medical collections, or maybe you have some high balances on some credit cards, I can always help you with like a what if scenario of what you need to do to get your score up. I mean, we're rescoring people a couple of times a month to get them above that 640 credit score. So good question. Maybe you want to book me so I can have a little more in-depth conversation with you privately about what your credit looks like and maybe how we can get it there for you. Okay. So good question. All right. Any more questions that we have here? I got some good ones popping across. Let's see. My husband is an X-ray tech, but he travels for work. Does that count? So is he a travel X-ray tech? Because I know this whole traveling thing is a big deal right now, whether it be nurses, LPNs, RNs, CNAs, everybody's traveling. But as long as he lives in Florida and Florida is his primary residence and he doesn't live outside and he just travels, you probably are okay there. So Lakeisha, let's talk about that. I'm going to again ask you to book me for that 30-minute one-on-one consultation, and let's figure it out. I got a few more questions for you. Okay. So I look forward to working with you and speaking with you. So let's see what we got down here. I can go down. I got 4 new messages, 4 new questions. Let's see. You can go ahead and unmic yourself if you have a question here. Let's see what we got. All right. X-ray tech already did. Thank you. Perfect. Cool. All right. Let me see if we have any more questions here in the list. Hey, Shane, can this program be used to purchase condos? Yes, it can be used to purchase condos. All right. And also manufactured housing. All right. So a lot of our counties in Central Florida, I'm running across manufactured housing a lot. And there is, this program allows for manufactured housing, whether it be an FHA loan, whether it be a conventional loan, either one does. Okay. Somebody asked, is there a consultation fee for Shane? No, there is not a consultation fee for Shane. It's probably expensive if you don't talk to me, but there's no fee to talk to me again. Somebody's asking a really good question about cosigners. So this program allows for non-occupant cosigners. And Again, I speak to a lot of folks. Affordability is an issue here. And let's just give a quick example. Let's just say I have that CNA nurse, okay? And I'm not picking on CNA nurses. I just speak to a lot of them. It's a very, very popular occupation that does qualify for this program. It just unfortunately is an $18 an hour type of job. But that CNA is going to have a roommate that's living with them that's going to help them pay the bills, right? So they're okay that they can qualify for like a $2,500 payment. But the CNA on her own or on his own doesn't qualify for the $2,500 payment, okay? That's when the non-occupant cosigner comes in. Dad, mom, grandma, usually have to be a strong cosigner, somebody that usually doesn't own a ton of real estate. It's not very complicated, but that is allowed. And oh, by the way, if the non-occupant cosigner makes $500,000 a year, that's completely fine. It does not go against the maximum income in that particular county, okay? So I have a great question about what credit score do you need? Again, this program goes down to a 640 credit score. All right. Shane, I have 2 years, the same employer. My concern is the credit score and the amount of income. So Marcos, credit score needs to be 640. In order to qualify, and I'm just going to throw this out here, just easy math, easy numbers. If you were looking to purchase a $250,000 house right now, okay, with taxes, insurance, maybe a small HOA, maybe not a small HOA, I mean, that is getting close to about a $2,000 a month payment, okay, somewhere in that neighborhood, maybe $1,900, maybe $2,100. But in order to qualify for that type of payment, you need to be making about $60,000 a year. Okay. So 60,000 will get you to 2,000 if you don't have a ton of debt or anything like that. But if you have student loans that's in deferment, again, we're going to want to talk about that because there is some ways to get around that. Okay. So good question. Anybody else? So I am recording this webinar tonight. So anybody that needs a copy of this or would like their coworker to see it, or even better, we're doing our next Hometown Heroes webinar on March 1st. Again, that's 2 weeks from tonight, and that'll be at 7:30. So if you have any friends or coworkers that want to join this, by all means, we love giving away this money. And I see that Dana raised her hand. So Dana, go ahead and unmic yourself.
I don't have to raise my hand. How do I raise my hand?
Dana, is that you? I can't hear you. Here, maybe I can unmute you. There you go.
All right. So
Hi, Dana.
Hi. So I just have a question. So I'm actually trying to look, I've been in the medical field years ago and then just got back at it here in Marion County.
Okay.
So I'm working with Accredited. Is it better to go into more detail on my appointment next week?
Yeah,
with
let's
you?
do that for the
Okay.
sake of keeping it nice and short tonight. And I want to answer everybody's questions, but I can give you some
Perfect.
pointers, point you in the right direction. So yeah, cool. You got me booked next week. We'll speak to you then.
Yes, sir. Thanks,
Awesome.
Don.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Yeah, you too. Thank you. All right. Anybody else? So again,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Real quick, I was just wondering if I do not qualify for this because I was married and I bought the first home with her. There's no loophole to say that because I'm single now that maybe I would qualify. We did sell the home like about a year ago. So.
Yeah. So yeah, you're going to fall into that. Hey, you're not in that 3-year period. So you wouldn't be considered a first-time home buyer. There are some other programs that I do have in my portfolio that do offer some assistance where you don't have to be a first-time home buyer. They're going to be, you're still going to need some money, probably more than the $5,000 to purchase the house. But there are other things out there that don't require you to be a first-time home buyer. This specific program does. Okay. So depending on your situation, we can talk about it, maybe put something together and talk about it on our appointment.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you. Who's next? Any more questions? So Jasmine asked, will you email us all the recording or do we need to request it? Jasmine, just request it from me. I actually will be putting it in an email that I like to send out to everybody where you can click on the link and listen to it. But full disclosure, I am sort of tech savvy. So I will be able to copy and paste it, put it in an email for you. And then you, again, can share it with coworkers or whatever the case may be. Okay. Awesome. Any more questions? We've been on here about 45 minutes tonight, and I've showed you some great examples of how you are able to purchase a home for little to no money out of pocket. And if you have questions, the best way to get them answered is just jump on my booking link. That is it. Get your 30-minute one-on-one. I'm very flexible schedule, but I do fill up very, very quickly. So go ahead and jump on there and get your time now. Okay. All right. Awesome. With that being said, do we have any more questions? Because I'm going to let everybody go back tonight. I'm hungry. I've not had dinner yet. So I need to go get something to eat. And Jasmine's booked for tomorrow. Awesome. Cool. Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, I just quit my job in the field of education, but I'm gonna do something else. Do I still qualify?
No. So whatever occupation you get back into, number one, it'll have to be one of the 100 plus occupations. Sounds like you're in the education field. And then you'll have to be full time. So we'll definitely want to revisit this once you get rehired, and then we'll go over what your new salary is, talk about budget and things like that. But you got to be full time in the 100 plus occupations. You can't even be retired. All right.
Not retiring. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. All right. With that being said, I am going to let everybody get back to their family tonight. I just want to thank you so much for coming out. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Hope I was able to answer all of your questions. And I just got to let you know, in my 20 years of doing this business, this has been the least expensive I've ever seen it for a home buyer to purchase a home. Okay. I didn't say we were in the lowest interest rate environment and you're going to get the lowest monthly payment that you've ever gotten. But what you will get, and working with the right team, I am seeing folks purchase homes for as little as $1,000. That's pretty incredible. With as little as 12 months ago, without this program, it would have been $30,000. So we're very, very fortunate, super lucky. We got the Great Florida Association of Realtors rallying for us to get another $100 million. I expect some great news about that in the next 60 days or so. And then I look forward to speaking to everybody. Again, if nobody's got any more questions, let me just double check the chat box and make sure I am good. Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. So with that being said, I'm going to sign off tonight. And for our veterans and active duty military personnel out there, thank you so much for your service. Look forward to speaking to you also. And then we'll see you soon. All right. Again, March 1st is the next webinar. That'll be at 7:30 on March 1st. And we will speak to you soon. Thank you so much for joining me, and we will be in touch. Have a good evening.